Tao Te Ching, it is ascribed to Laozi, an old master. He was a sage traditionally believed to have lived in the 6th century BCE. Its title, translatable as The Classic of the Way and Its Power, or The Book of the Tao and Its Virtue, signifies its importance. The work comprises 81 concise chapters that offer philosophical insights, ethical guidance, and reflections on the nature of the Tao, or the Way. The writing style is short. It uses few particles. It fosters diverse and contradictory interpretations. It combines single ideas with a poetic style, exploring themes of simplicity, humility, harmony with nature, and the cultivation of virtue. The Tao Te Ching serves as a guide to spiritual enlightenment. In Taoism, Tao refers to the fundamental principle or way underlying the natural order of the universe. It is translated as the way or the path. It is a universal force. It is the source and driving force behind everything. The Tao is linked to harmony, balance, and the natural flow. It is key to finding peace and enlightenment in Taoist philosophy. Chapter 1. Profound Mystery of the Tao. The Tao that can be spoken of is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. Without a name, it is the beginning of heaven and earth. With a name, it is the mother of all things. Therefore, the being constantly without desire, one can observe its subtlety. Being constantly with desire, one can observe its manifestations. These two arise together, but differ in name. Both are called mysterious. Mystery upon mystery, the gateway of all wonders. Chapter 2. Harmony of Paradoxes. In the world, when all recognize beauty as beauty, ugliness arises. When all recognize good as good, evil emerges. Being and non-being give birth to each other. Difficulty and ease complete each other. Long and short form each other. High and low incline towards each other. Sound and silence harmonize. Before and after follow each other. So, wise people act effortlessly. They teach without speaking. Things come without rejection. They live without possessing, act without relying, and accomplish without claiming credit. By not dwelling in accomplishment, they remain timeless. Chapter 3. Governance through non-competition. Do not promote the virtuous, and the people will not contend. Do not value rare treasures, and the people will not steal. Do not display tempting objects, and the people's hearts will remain untroubled. Thus, the governance of the wise is to empty their hearts, fill their bellies, weaken their ambitions, and strengthen their bones. Always keep the people without knowledge or desires, so that those with knowledge dare not act. By doing nothing, nothing remains undone. Chapter 4. Profound Essence of the Tao. The Tao is like an empty vessel, yet its use is inexhaustible. Deep, it seems to be the origin of all things. Blunt its sharpness, unravel its tangles, soften its brilliance, and be one with the dust. Pure and still, it appears to exist eternally. I do not know whose child it is. It seems to be the ancestor of the emperor. Chapter 5. Harmony of Heaven and Earth. Heaven and earth are impartial. They treat all things as straw dogs. The sage is not partial. He treats the people as straw dogs. Is not the space between heaven and earth like a bellows? Empty and not resistant, moving and producing more. Many words lead to exhaustion. It is better to keep centered. Chapter 6. The Mysterious Feminine and the Eternal Source. The spirit of the valley never dies. It is called the Mysterious Feminine. The gateway of the mysterious feminine is referred to as the root of heaven and earth. Endless continuity is like a threadbare fabric, yet its use is never exhausted. Chapter 7. Eternal Harmony of Heaven and Earth. Heaven is eternal, earth is lasting. The reason why heaven and earth can be enduring is that they do not create themselves, thus they can perpetuate life. So, the wise person places themselves behind, and yet they come first. They abandon their self-interest, and yet their self is preserved. Is it not because they have no selfishness? Therefore, they can fulfill their true nature. Chapter 8. The Virtue of Simplicity. The highest virtue is like water. Water is excellent at benefiting all things and is also calming. It resides in places that people dislike, therefore, it is nearly aligned with the way. Dwelling in the right place, having a virtuous heart, expressing kindness in words, practicing good faith, administering justice in governing, using skillful abilities, and acting at the right time. For one who does not contend, there is no blame. Chapter 9. Moderation and Humility. Grasp and fill, yet better to stop in time. Hold and sharpen, but it can't be maintained forever. With treasures abundant, guarding them is futile. Wealth and pride invite their own downfall. Accomplish your work, and then withdraw. Align with the way of heaven. Chapter 10. The Essence of Simplicity. Embrace unity. Hold on to the essence. Can you avoid separation? Focus on the breath. Cultivate gentleness. Can you become like an infant? Cleanse the mirror of perception. Can you remain without blemish? Love the people. Govern the nation. Can you do so without knowledge? Open and close the gates of heaven. Can you play the role of the female? Understand and navigate all directions. Can you do so without effort? Give life, nurture it, create without possessing, act without relying, lead without dominating. This is the profound virtue. Chapter 11. The Essence of Utility. 30 spokes share one hub. Their usefulness comes from the emptiness within. Clay is molded into vessels. Their usefulness comes from the hollow within. Build doors and windows for a room. Their usefulness comes from the empty space within. Therefore, the presence of things provides utility, but the absence of things provides purpose. Chapter 12. The Senses and Desires. The 5 colors make people's eyes blind. The 5 sounds make people's ears deaf. The 5 tastes make people's mouths dull. Pursuing desires and hunting makes people's hearts go mad. Rare possessions hinder people's movements. Therefore, the wise focus on the essential rather than the extravagant. They disregard appearances and choose substance. Chapter 13. Cherishing and Disgrace like surprise. Valuing great troubles like self. What is meant by cherishing and disgrace like surprise? Cherishing is beneath. When you obtain it, it's like a surprise. When you lose it, it's like a surprise. This is called cherishing and disgrace like surprise. What is meant by valuing great troubles like self? Why do I have great troubles? Because I have a self. If I no longer have a self, what troubles do I have? Therefore, valuing oneself as the world is like entrusting oneself to the world. Loving oneself as the world is like relying on the world. Chapter 14. The Obscure Nature of the Way. Look at it, and you cannot see it. Its name is called formless. Listen to it, and you cannot hear it. Its name is called silent. Grasp it, and it cannot be held. Its name is called elusive. These three cannot be further scrutinized, so they merge and become one. Its upper part is not bright, and its lower part is not obscure. Continuously, it cannot be named, returning to the state of nothing. This is called the form of the formless, the image of nothing. This is called the blurred and indistinct. Facing it, you cannot see its front. Following it, you cannot see its back. Hold on to the present way to regulate the present existence. Able to understand the ancient beginning, this is called the record of the way. Chapter 15. Profound Mystery of the Ancient Way. Those in ancient times who were skilled in the way were subtle, mysterious, profound, and beyond comprehension. Because they are beyond comprehension, I will try to describe their appearance. Cautious, like crossing a winter-flooded river. Reserved, like being afraid of the neighbors on all sides. Solemn, like a guest. Loose, like ice about to melt. Simple, like an uncarved block. Open, like a vast valley. Obscure, like muddy water. Who can be muddled yet desist, slow yet quicken, content yet desire, and not wish for another's benefit? Truly, those who hold to the way are not eager to be full. Because they are not full, they can be worn and not newly made. Chapter 16. Embrace utmost emptiness. Preserve profound stillness. To reach the utmost emptiness and maintain profound stillness, all things flourish and return. I observe their return, the multitude of things, each returning to its root. Returning to the root is called stillness. This is known as returning to life. Returning to life is called the constant. Knowing the constant is called enlightenment. Not knowing the constant, reckless actions lead to disaster. Knowing the constant allows acceptance. Acceptance leads to impartiality. Impartiality leads to sovereignty. Sovereignty leads to heaven. Heaven leads to the Tao. The Tao leads to eternal harmony. And deathless, one transcends peril. Chapter 17. The Tao at its highest. In the highest state, people are aware of it. Next, they adore and praise it. Following that, they fear it. Finally, they disrespect it. Lack of trust, where belief is insufficient, leads to disbelief. Profound indeed is the Tao's virtue. When achievements are accomplished and affairs are successful, the people all say it happened naturally. Chapter 18. When the great Tao declines. As the great Tao declines, there arises benevolence and righteousness. Wisdom emerges, accompanied by great deception. Inharmony among the six kin leads to filial piety and kindness. Chaos in the nation gives rise to loyal ministers. Chapter 19. Beyond the sacred, beyond wisdom. Abandoning sagacity, embracing simplicity, people's benefits will be manifold. Abandoning benevolence, discarding righteousness, people will return to filial piety and kindness. Abandoning cunning, renouncing profit, thieves and bandits will cease to exist. These three virtues, considered insufficient for culture, hence the need to establish other values. Embrace the unadorned, hold on to the simple, have few desires and little private intent. Chapter 20. Beyond learning, beyond worry. Cease learning, and you will be free from troubles. How much difference is there between yes and no? What is the distinction between good and evil? What others fear should I not also fear? The multitude are joyous, as if partaking in a great feast, or ascending a tower in spring. I alone am calm and uninvolved, like an infant yet to smile, wandering without a destination. The multitude all have surplus, while I alone seem lacking. I have the heart of a fool indeed, so ignorant. The common people are bright, I alone am dull. The common people are keen, I alone am muddled, so vague, like the ocean, seemingly without limit. The multitude all have purpose. I alone am stubborn and low. I alone am different from others, for I prize seeking sustenance from the mother. Chapter 21. Mysteries of the Tao. Vast virtue has the appearance. Only the Tao can follow. As for the Tao, it has no fixed form, and yet it appears as if obscured. It appears as if obscured, and yet within it there is substance. Deep, it seems as though it has existence. Its existence is so profound, it seems infinite. The infinite is testable, replicable. Through this, it returns to the natural. From ancient times until now, its name has not ceased. By means of it, we may see the origin of all things. How do I know the origin of all things? Through the Tao. Chapter 22. Harmony in Action. Bend, and you will be whole. Curl, and you will be straight. Keep empty, and you will be filled. Grow old, and you will be renewed. Have little, and you will gain. Have much, and you will be perplexed. Therefore, the wise embrace the One, and set an example to the whole world. Not putting on a display, they shine forth. Not justifying themselves, they are distinguished. Not boasting, they receive recognition. Not bragging, they never falter. They do not contend, so the world cannot contend against them. What the ancients called bend, and you will be whole. Was this an empty saying? Be really whole, and all things will come to you. Chapter 23. Harmony with Nature. Soft words are natural, so a gusty wind doesn't blow all morning. A sudden rain doesn't last all day. Who makes this happen? Heaven and earth. If even heaven and earth cannot make things eternal, how is it possible for humans? Therefore, those who follow the way are one with the way. Those who embody virtue are one with virtue. Those who lose themselves are one with loss. Being one with the way welcomes them. Being one with virtue, virtue welcomes them. Being one with loss welcomes them. Faith is lacking, so there is also distrust. Chapter 24. Harmony in Humility. One who boasts does not achieve. One who brags does not prosper. Those who are self-centered lack insight. Those who self-validate remain obscure. Self-praise brings no accomplishment. Self-commendation leads to no growth. In the way, it is said, excessive indulgence leads to surplus and wastefulness. Some may detest it, hence, those who follow the way avoid it. Chapter 25. The Primordial Unity. A blend of existence takes form, born of the union of heaven and earth. Silent and vast, solemnly standing, unchanged, circulating without faltering, able to be the mother of the world. I do not know its name, yet I call it the way. Forced to name it, I dub it great. Great means expansive, expansive means distant, distant means returning. Therefore, the way is great, heaven is great, earth is great, and rulers are also great. In the realm there are 4 greatnesses, yet the ruler abides in one. People follow the earth follows heaven, heaven follows the way follows nature. Chapter 26. The Weight of a Gentle Rule. Treasure the roots over the superficial, calm rules over restless dominance. Hence, the noble one moves throughout the day without departing from humility. Even amidst glory and admiration, they remain in tranquil detachment. Why should the ruler of a myriad chariots possess a lightness that transcends the world? To be light is to lose one's roots. To be restless is to lose one's authority. Chapter 27. The Art of Virtuous Mastery. Good actions leave no trace. Good words bear no flaw. Good plans need no calculation. Good locks have no keys. Good ties require no ropes. Thus, the wise consistently aid others, abandoning no one, effectively assisting all things, abandoning nothing. This is called embracing enlightenment. Therefore, the virtuous become mentors to the non-virtuous, and the non-virtuous become resources for the virtuous. Not esteeming their mentors, not clinging to their resources, even the clever can go astray. This is the essence of profound subtlety. Chapter 28. The Harmony of Balance. Understanding the masculine, embracing the feminine, creates harmony throughout the world. Harmony in the world is rooted in eternal virtue, returning to the innocence of an infant. Knowing the bright, embracing the dark, establishes a pattern for the world. Establishing a pattern for the world is anchored in unchanging virtue, returning to the limitless. Recognizing glory, embracing disgrace, forms the essence of the world. Forming the essence of the world, virtue remains abundant, returning to simplicity. When simplicity is scattered, it transforms into tools. The wise use them as leaders. Hence, great achievements are not divided. Chapter 29. The Tao of Non-Interference. If one desires to take control of the world and manipulate it, I see this as an inevitable failure. The world is a divine instrument. It cannot be manipulated. Those who try to manipulate it will ruin it. Those who try to control it will lose it. Therefore, things may come or go. Some may expand, while others contract. Some may strengthen, while others weaken. Some may be raised, while others are brought low. This is why the wise person discards extremes, abandons extravagance and arrogance. Chapter 30. Harmony in Rule. To assist a ruler with the Tao, do not rely on force to dominate the realm. Those who follow the Tao will favor a return to goodness. Where the army is stationed, thorns and brambles grow. After the great military campaigns, there will surely be unfortunate years. The virtuous achieve their goals and stop, refraining from arrogance. They achieve without boasting. They accomplish without flaunting. They succeed without arrogance. They achieve without coercion. When things flourish, they begin to fade. This is known as going against the Tao. Going against the Tao leads to an early demise. Chapter 31. Harmony in Warfare. The esteemed weapon is an ill-omened tool, hated by many, and thus the Tao avoids it. For those who follow the Tao, it is not their dwelling. Yet, when they must resort to it, they value the left. In dwelling, the noble favor the left. In warfare, they value the right. The instrument of war is ominous. It is not the tool of the noble. When compelled to use it, they handle it with calmness and restraint. Victory, though achieved, is not a cause for celebration, for rejoicing in killing is abhorrent. Those who delight in killing cannot attain their ambitions in the world. Therefore, in auspicious events, they favor the left. In ominous events, they favor the right. This is why a subordinate general stands on the left, while the supreme general stands on the right. In times of mourning, they are positioned accordingly, and for the multitude slain in battle, they express sorrow. Chapter 32, The Nameless Path. The Tao is perpetually without a name, simple and unassuming, yet the world dares not subjugate. Should rulers uphold this virtue, all things shall naturally bow. Heaven and earth harmonize, bestowing sweet dew upon the land. Without command, all finds equilibrium, initiating a system where naming is introduced. Once named, one should know when to stop, understanding the essence of restraint. Metaphorically, the Tao in the world is akin to rivers and valleys merging into vast seas and rivers. Chapter 33, Wisdom and Self-Awareness. Those who understand others are wise. Those who understand themselves are enlightened. Overcoming others requires strength. Overcoming oneself demands true power. Satisfaction brings wealth. Determination fuels strong actions. Enduring one's place leads to longevity. Remaining eternal even after death is a testament to life. Chapter 34, The All-Encompassing Tao. The Great Way flows freely, navigating effortlessly left and right. All things rely on it for life without complaint. Achievements are made without seeking recognition. Clothing embraces all things without claiming ownership. It remains selfless, without desires, known as humble. All things return to it without claiming possession, known as vast. Thus, the sage never strives for greatness, and thereby accomplishes greatness. Chapter 35, Embracing the Great Elephant. Grasp the great elephant, the world will follow. Proceed without causing harm, and tranquility will reign. Happiness and nourishment attract temporary guests. The way's exit, tastes bland and unremarkable. Unseen by the eyes, unheard by the ears, utilized but never exhausted. Chapter 36, The Art of Subtle Influence. To conquer the desire to contract, first firmly expand it. To overcome the tendency to weaken, first firmly strengthen it. To dispel the intention to abandon, first firmly revive it. To thwart the urge to take away, first firmly give to it. This is known as cultivating the subtle light, where softness triumphs over hardness and weakness prevails over strength. Just as fish cannot escape the depths, the potent tools of a nation should not be revealed to others. Chapter 37, The Art of Effortless Action. The Tao is always without action, yet nothing is left undone. If the rulers can hold on to this, all things will transform themselves. Transformed, yet desiring to act, I shall quiet them with the simplicity of the nameless block. The simplicity of the nameless block also causes no desire. Not desiring, one attains tranquility, and the world itself settles in its natural order. Chapter 38, The Paradox of Virtue. The highest virtue is not virtuous, yet it has virtue. The lower virtue does not lose virtue, yet it clings to virtue. The highest virtue takes no action, yet it has a purpose. The lower virtue acts with purpose, yet it has a purpose. The highest benevolence acts with purpose, yet has no purpose. The highest righteousness acts with purpose, yet has a purpose. The highest ritual acts with purpose, yet elicits no response. Then it rolls up its sleeves and forces compliance. Therefore, when the Tao is lost, there is virtue. When virtue is lost, there is benevolence. When benevolence is lost, there is righteousness. When righteousness is lost, there is ritual. Ritual is the thin shell of loyalty and sincerity, the beginning of chaos. Knowledge is the blossoming of the Tao, the origin of foolishness. Thus the great person abides in the substantial, not the flimsy, resides in the real, not the ornate, leaves the latter to grasp the former. Chapter 39. The Unity of the Past. In ancient times, those who attained oneness, heaven attained oneness and became clear, earth attained oneness and became spiritual, spirit attained oneness and became tranquil, valley attained oneness and became full, all things attained oneness and came to life. Noble rulers attained oneness and became the foundation of the world's constancy. Without clarity, heaven may shatter. Without tranquility, earth may erupt. Without spirituality, spirit may wane. Without fullness, valley may run dry. Without life, all things may perish. Without constancy, noble rulers may falter. Therefore, the high should be built upon the low, the pinnacle should be founded on the base. Noble rulers, thinking themselves orphaned, alone, and lacking, is this not because they do not hold the low in esteem? Hence, the utmost excellence is to be like jade, yet avoid being overly ornate like jade, to be firm, yet not rigid like a stone. Chapter 40. The Dynamics of the Tao. Reversal is the motion of the Tao. Weakness is the function of the Tao. All things in the world arise from being. Being arises from non-being. Chapter 41. Attitudes. Towards the Tao. The superior person hears the Tao and diligently practices it. The average person hears the Tao and wavers between belief and disbelief. The inferior person hears the Tao and bursts into laughter. If they do not laugh, it is not truly the Tao. Therefore it is said, clear Tao seems obscured, advancing Tao seems regressive, smooth Tao seems rough, highest virtue seems like a valley, great purity seems tarnished, broad virtue seems insufficient, building virtue seems passive, true sincerity seems changeable, great square has no corners, great vessel is finished late, great sound is barely heard, great image has no form. Indeed, only the Tao is capable of accomplishing generosity and completion. Chapter 42. The Tao's Generative Process. The Tao gives rise to one gives rise to two gives rise to three gives rise to all things. All things carry the yin and embrace the yang, and blend the vital breath to create harmony. What people detest are alone, lacking, and unworthy, yet kings and lords use these as titles. Therefore, some things are diminished by being added to, others are augmented by being diminished. What others teach, I also teach. The strong and forceful will not meet a natural death. I will use this as the father of my teachings. Chapter 43. The Utmost Softness and Strength. The softest thing in the world overcomes the hardest. The formless penetrates the impermeable. This is how I know the benefit of non-action. Teaching without words, the advantage of non-action, few in the world can attain it. Chapter 44, Valuing the Essential, Contentment, and Moderation. What is more important, reputation or self? What is more abundant, self or wealth? What is more harmful, gain or loss? Therefore, excessive love leads to great expense. Hoarding leads to heavy loss. Being content is not to be disgraced. Knowing when to stop prevents danger and leads to lasting prosperity. Chapter 45, The Virtue of Balance, Achieving Harmony. When fullness is attained, there is emptiness, yet its use is inexhaustible. When abundance is achieved, there is emptiness, yet its use is never-ending. Great uprightness may seem twisted, great skill may appear clumsy, great eloquence may sound like stammering. Agitation overcomes the cold, stillness overcomes the heat. Clarity and tranquility bring order to the world. Chapter 46, The Way in the World, Retreat from Desire. When the world follows the Tao, fast horses are used for fertilizing fields. When the world deviates from the Tao, war horses breed on the outskirts. No crime is greater than indulging desires. No calamity is greater than discontentment. No fault is greater than the desire to gain. Therefore, knowing when to stop is sufficient, always content with what is enough. Chapter 47, The Sage's Knowledge Beyond Boundaries. Without leaving the home, he knows the world. Without peering through the window, he sees the ways of heaven. The further he goes, the less he knows. Thus the sage does not travel, but understands, does not see but names, does not act, but achieves. Chapter 48, The Paradox of Learning and the Tao. In the pursuit of learning, one gains daily. In the pursuit of the Tao, one loses daily. Continual loss leads to non-action, and through non-action, there is nothing that cannot be achieved. Therefore, those who desire to control the world continuously practice non-interference. When they have tasks to accomplish, they are not preoccupied with controlling the world. Chapter 49, The Sage's Unchanging Heart, Embracing All. The sage has an unchanging heart, treating the hearts of the people as his own. For those who are virtuous, he is virtuous. For those who are not virtuous, he is also virtuous. His virtue is true. For those who are trustworthy, he trusts. For those who are not trustworthy, he also trusts. His trust is true. The sage appears hesitant in the world, as if he is timid, yet he embraces the hearts of the world. The people all focus their ears and eyes on him, and the sage treats them as children. Chapter 50, Birth and Death, The Cycle of Life. From birth to death, the followers of life are 13 in number. From death to birth, the followers of death are also 13 in number. How is it so? Because of the excessiveness of life. It is said that those who are skilled in handling life travel on land without encountering rhinoceros or tigers enter an army without being harmed by weapons. The rhinoceros finds nowhere to thrust its horn. The tiger finds nowhere to sink its claws. Weapons find nowhere to insert their blades. How is it so? Because they have no place for death. Chapter 51, The Tao's Life-Giving Process, Cultivating Virtue. The Tao gives them life, virtue nurtures them, their own configurations shape them, and circumstances complete them. Thus, all things respect the Tao and value virtue. The Tao is respected, virtue is valued, and yet no one commands them, yet they naturally thrive. Therefore, the Tao gives them life, virtue nurtures them, grows them, raises them, completes and matures them, nurtures and brings them back to life. They are born but not possessed, act but not rely on, grow but not dominate. This is called profound virtue. Chapter 52. The Beginning of the World. Embracing the Mother. The beginning of the world is regarded as the mother of the world. Once one has found the mother, they will know the child. Once they know the child, they will return to safeguard the mother, and their body will be free from danger. Close the openings, shut the doors, and throughout life, labor is not required. Open the openings, assist in affairs, and throughout life, salvation is not achieved. Perceive the small as clear, guard the flexible as strong, utilize the radiance, return to the insight, and there will be no harm to the self. This is called practicing constancy. Chapter 53. Walking the Great Way. Simplicity amidst complexity. If I have just a little knowledge, I walk in the Great Way, and my only fear is deviating from it. The Great Way is very level, yet people prefer bypaths. The court is very clean, but the fields are very overgrown. The granaries are very empty, yet there are those dressed magnificently, carrying sharp swords, filling up on food and drink, possessing wealth in excess. This is known as robbery and extravagance. Certainly, it is not the way. Chapter 54. The Virtuous Builder. Foundations. Never forsaken. A virtuous builder does not uproot. A virtuous embracer does not let go. For generations, the descendants continue their offerings without ceasing. Cultivate it within oneself, and its virtue is genuine. Cultivate it within the family, and its virtue overflows. Cultivate it within the community, and its virtue becomes enduring. Cultivate it within the country, and its virtue becomes abundant. Cultivate it within the world, and its virtue becomes universal. Therefore, observe oneself to understand others. Observe the family to understand other families. Observe the community to understand other communities. Observe the country to understand other countries. Observe the world to understand the world. How do I know the world is so? By this observation. Chapter 55. The Profound Virtue, Gentle and Pure. The depth of virtue is comparable to that of a newborn. Venomous insects do not sting. Fierce beasts do not pounce. Birds of prey do not seize. Yet its bones are weak, and its tendons are soft. Yet its grip is firm. It does not yet know the union of male and female, yet its essence is complete. Crying all day, yet its voice does not become hoarse. Harmony to the utmost. Knowing harmony is constancy. Knowing constancy is enlightenment. Enhancing life is auspicious. The mind directing the breath is strength. Things robust tend to decline. This is called the way of not being in the way. Not being in the way leads to an early end. Chapter 56. The Silent Wisdom, the Ineffable Unity. Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know. Close the openings, shut the doors, blunt the sharpness, unravel the knots, diminish the glare, merge with the dust. This is called the mysterious sameness. Cannot be approached, yet cannot be distanced. Cannot be gained, yet cannot be lost. Cannot be benefited, yet cannot be harmed. Cannot be honored, yet cannot be humiliated. Therefore, it is revered by the world. Chapter 57. Governance with Righteousness. Warfare with Ingenuity. Govern the country with righteousness. Employ military forces with ingenuity. And conquer the world without any effort. How do I know it is so? By this, the world has many taboos, and the people are impoverished. People possess numerous lethal weapons, and the state is in disarray. People are skilled and clever. Novelties emerge incessantly. Laws and regulations increase, and so do thieves and bandits. Therefore, the wise one says, I act without doing, and the people transform themselves. I prefer quiet, and the people rectify themselves. I engage in no affairs, and the people prosper. I have no desires, and the people simplify themselves. Chapter 58. Political Balance. The Virtue of Moderation. When the government is unobtrusive, the people are content. When the government is vigilant, the people are restless. Disaster leans on good fortune, and good fortune conceals disaster. Who can perceive the ultimate truth? It has no fixed standard. Goodness turns into strangeness. Virtue turns into vice. People have been perplexed for a long time. Therefore, the wise are sharp but not cutting, candid but not offensive, straightforward but not overbearing, radiant but not dazzling. Chapter 59. Governing Human Affairs. The Virtue of Frugality. Governing human affairs is best approached with frugality. Frugality means early preparation. Early preparation is akin to accumulating virtue. Accumulating virtue leads to invincibility. Being invincible, one reaches an inexhaustible state. In an inexhaustible state, the limits are unknown. Unknown limits enable long-lasting governance. This is the essence of having deep roots and a firm foundation, the path to long life and enduring vision. Chapter 60. Governing a Great Country. Cooking a Small Fish. Governing a great country is like cooking a small fish. Ruling the world with the way, evil spirits will not have power. Not that evil spirits have no power. Their power will not harm people. Not that their power will not harm people. The wise ruler will also not harm people. In this way, both will refrain from harming, and virtue will return to them. Chapter 61. The Art of Yielding. The Power of the Feminine. The great country lies low. It is the meeting ground of the world, the receptive, the feminine. The feminine always overcomes the masculine by stillness. By stillness, it becomes low. Therefore, if the great country wishes to take the smaller country, it will be able to take the smaller country. If the smaller country wishes to take the great country, it will also be able to take the great country. Hence, some yield to conquer, others yield and yet conquer. The great country desires to unite and nourish people, while the small country desires to enter and serve people. Each attains what it desires, so the great country should yield. Chapter 62. The Essence of the Way. A Treasure for the Virtuous. The way is the essence of all things. A treasure for the virtuous, a refuge for the non-virtuous. Beautiful words can be sold. Honorable actions can elevate people. Even those who are not virtuous Why abandon them? Therefore, when establishing a ruler, appointing 3 ministers, though they possess rare treasures and prance in chariots, it is better to stay seated and embrace the way. Why was the way prized in ancient times? Not for seeking personal gain, not for avoiding punishment. Therefore, the way is esteemed by the world. Chapter 63. Effortless Action. Accomplishing without doing. Act without action. Attend to affairs without feeling preoccupied. Taste without tasting. Size does not matter. Quantity does not matter. Repay injury with virtue. Deal with the difficult while it is still easy. Deal with the great while it is still small. Difficult undertakings have always started from the easy. Great undertakings have always started from the small. Therefore, the wise never strive for the great. Thus, they can achieve the great. Promises lightly made are seldom trusted. Easy tasks often lead to difficulty. This is why the wise consider everything difficult. Hence, in the end, they face no difficulties. Chapter 64. The Art of Non-Interference. Nurturing without force. What is at rest is easy to hold. What has not yet shown itself is easy to plan for. What is brittle is easy to break. What is minute is easy to scatter. Deal with a matter before it arises. Set things in order before disorder begins. A tree big enough to embrace grows from the tiny shoot. A tower of 9 stories rises from a heap of earth. A journey of 1,000 miles starts from beneath one's feet. Those who act fail. Those who grasp lose. The wise do not act and so do not fail. They do not grasp and so do not lose. People usually fail when on the verge of success. So, practice caution at the end as at the beginning, then there will be no failure. Therefore, the wise desire non-desire, value not valuable things, learn not learning, and return to the places that others have passed over. Help all things flourish, but do not dominate, working without intention. Chapter 65. Profound Virtue. The Wisdom of Unseen Influence. In ancient times, those who were adept at the way did not use it to enlighten the people, but to keep them simple. The difficulty in governing lies in the abundance of knowledge. Ruling a country with knowledge becomes a detriment, and ruling a country without knowledge brings prosperity. Understanding these 2 aspects is a model, and being able to understand this model is called profound virtue. Profound virtue is extensive, far-reaching, contrary to the world, and leads to great harmony. Chapter 66. The Art of Leadership. Embracing humility and selflessness. The reason the rivers and seas can be the kings of 100 valleys is that they skillfully stay beneath them. Thus, they can be the kings of 100 valleys. Therefore, the wise person, in order to be above the people, must speak humbly to them. To be ahead of the people, one must place oneself behind them. In this way, the wise person resides above, and the people do not feel burdened, stays ahead, and the people do not feel harmed. Thus, the whole world is happy to push them forward without resentment. Because they do not contend, the world cannot contend with them. Everyone says, "My way is vast," and seems not to resemble others. It is precisely because it is great that it seems not to resemble others. If it resembled others, it would have been insignificant for a long time. Chapter 67. The 3 Treasures: Compassion, Frugality, and Humility. I possess 3 treasures, guard and hold them close. The first is compassion. The second is frugality. The third is not daring to be ahead of the world. With compassion, one can be brave. With frugality, one can be generous. Not daring to be ahead of the world, one can truly lead and endure. Now, forsaking compassion for valor, forsaking frugality for indulgence, forsaking the rear for the lead, spells doom. Compassion in battle leads to victory. In defense, it ensures stability. Heaven will save and protect through compassion. Chapter 68. The Art of Non-Contention in Leadership and Strategy. A skilled warrior is not aggressive. A master of battle is not wrathful. One who triumphs over enemies does not contend. A leader who effectively employs people is humble. This is the virtue of non-contention. This is the strength of utilizing others. This is in harmony with the ancient way of aligning with the heavens. Chapter 69. The Art of War, a strategy beyond confrontation. In the use of military force, there is a saying, I dare not be the host, but prefer to be the guest. I dare not advance an inch, but prefer to retreat a foot. This is called marching without marching, arming without weapons, capturing without an enemy, holding without force. Disaster arises from underestimating the enemy. Underestimating the enemy can lead to the loss of precious assets. Therefore, when opposing forces clash. Chapter 70. The Simplicity of Wisdom. Profound, yet easily overlooked. My words are very easy to understand and very easy to practice. Yet, the world cannot understand and cannot practice them. My words have an origin. My actions have a ruler. Because people do not understand, they do not recognize me. Those who understand me are rare. Therefore, I am highly valued. That is why the wise ones wear coarse clothing and carry jade within. Chapter 71. The Paradox of Knowledge. The Path to Wellness. To know that you do not know is wisdom. To not know but think you know is a malady. Only by recognizing the malady as a malady can one be free from the malady. The wise acknowledge their ignorance, thus remaining free from the malady, while the ignorant refuse to acknowledge their malady, perpetuating their affliction. Chapter 72. The Unyielding Spirit, Embracing Fearlessness. When the people do not fear coercion, it is because coercion has reached its utmost limits. Yet, they do not disregard their homes, nor do they tire of their lives. Only those who do not tire can endure. Therefore, the wise person understands themselves, but does not flaunt it, loves themselves, but does not prioritize themselves. Thus, they let go of one to embrace the other. Chapter 73. The Duality of Courage, a choice between life and death. Being brave in daring to kill, or being brave in choosing not to kill, both have their potential benefits and drawbacks. What does heaven despise, and who truly understands the reasons behind it? Even the wise find it challenging to comprehend. The way of heaven is to excel without contention, to respond without words, to arrive without summons, and to plan skillfully with an open heart. The divine order is vast and all-encompassing, loose, yet without leaks. Chapter 74. The Power of Fearlessness, Governing without exploiting fear. If the people do not fear death, how can one intimidate them with the fear of death? If the people are always afraid of death, and we can seize and execute those who behave unusually, who would dare to act, When there is someone always appointed to carry out executions, those who take on the role of executioners become rare. This is akin to having a master carpenter carve wood on behalf of the actual carpenter. The chance of injury is minimal. Chapter 75. Harmony in Governance. Understanding the people's needs. When the people are hungry, it is because their superiors consume too much in taxes. This is why they are hungry. When governing the people becomes difficult, it is because the rulers take actions without considering the consequences. This is why it is difficult to govern. When the people are indifferent to the fear of death, it is because they pursue life excessively. This is why they are indifferent to death. Only those who do not live for the sake of living are truly wise, surpassing the value of merely cherishing life. Chapter 76. The Dance of Life and Death. Balancing Strength and Gentleness. In the birth of a person, there is softness and weakness. In their death, there is strength and firmness. The same applies to the life of plants, soft and fragile in growth, dry and withered in death. Hence, those who are firm and strong are disciples of death, while those who are soft and weak are disciples of life. Therefore, when an army is strong, it does not win. When a tree is strong, it invites the axe. The strong and powerful occupy the lower positions, while the soft and weak occupy the higher. Chapter 77. Harmony in Tao. The Art of Balance. The way of the heavens is like stretching a bow. It brings down what is high and lifts up what is low. It reduces what has too much and adds to what has too little. The way of the heavens is to take away from those who have too much and give to those who have too little. Contrarily, the way of humanity is not so. It takes from those who don't have enough to serve those who already have too much. Who can have abundance and use it to serve the world? Only the one who follows the way. Therefore, the wise one acts, but does not boast, achieves, but does not flaunt, does not wish to display their excellence. Chapter 78. The Triumph of Gentleness. The Unyielding Power of Water. In the world, there is nothing more soft and weak than water. Yet, when it confronts the hard and strong, nothing surpasses it. The unyielding cannot overcome it, as there is nothing more adaptable. The weak conquers the strong, the gentle conquers the rigid. Everyone in the world knows this, yet no one can put it into practice. Therefore, the wise one says, accept the impurities of the state, and you become the lord of the soil. Accept the misfortunes of the state, and you become the ruler of the world. Speaking the truth sounds like its opposite. Chapter 79. Harmony Beyond Grudges. The Art of Wise Reconciliation. When a big resentment is reconciled, there will be remaining resentments. How can this be considered good? Therefore, the wise hold the left part of the contract, but do not demand payment from the other. Those with virtue hold to the contract. Those without virtue demand strict adherence. The way of the heavens plays no favorites, yet it always leans towards the good-hearted. Chapter 80. Harmony in Silence, Fulfillment in Restraint. A small country has few people. They have weapons and do not employ them. They enjoy the labor of their hands and do not waste time in travel. Even if they have boats and carriages, they have no need to use them. Even if they have armor and weapons, they have no occasion to display them. People return to the knotting of cords for reckoning. Their food is plain and good. their clothes fine but simple, their abodes secure. They are happy in their ways. Though they live within sight of their neighbors, and crowing cocks and barking dogs are heard across the way, yet they leave each other in peace while they grow old and die. Chapter 81. True Wisdom in Simplicity. True words are not always beautiful. Beautiful words are not always true. Those who are good do not argue. Those who argue are not always good. Those who know are not necessarily learned. Those who are learned may not necessarily know. The wise do not accumulate, yet they have more and more. By giving to others, they gain even more. The way of heaven is to benefit without causing harm. The way of the wise is to act without contention.